And welcome to the surprise theme stream that Aabria and I thought might be fun to talk about. That's what we're doing. So the title of this stream, you may have noticed, is called So Your Party Wiped, What's Next? I wanted to call it So Owl Mom Kicked Your Ass, What Do You Do?
Mine what?
But it felt a little less generally appropriate, you know what I mean? So.
I mean, you say that, but I feel like that's actually what happened. Hold on, we're introducing ourselves before we get started.
Let's do that. So who
you
are
start.
you? Okay, me? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Distracted Elf. I was the GM of I'm not anymore. The GM of Icewind Dale Rime the Frost Maiden for Roll20 for our little group.
Yeah.
And we played 20 sessions. We got all the way to Auril in Grimskull, and then she killed us. And by killed us, I mean I killed them with Auril. I wanted to laugh evilly, but I also didn't want to hurt people.
Introduce
myself. No, you go. Okay, I'm sorry.
Hello, I am Aabria, one of the players that got killed by Elf's Owl Mom. I played Bersapistai, depending on which screen we were on, Goliath, Sorcerer, or Barbarian.
I fixed that eventually. You were a Barbarian on both, but like up until maybe like episode 9, between episode like 5 and 9, you were both.
Yeah. I liked being Schrodinger's class. It was dope.
Always fun to get people to interrupt. What do you call it? Interrogate about that. Ask them.
Yes.
They're like, what is
it? Yes, I finished as Bursa Godsbane, but we'll get into like the manner in which we finished it. I just wanted to introduce for people who don't know us and
who are maybe seeing this particular stream in a vacuum.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, most of you probably who are watching right now are familiar with the campaign. This is the same time slot that we do that in, like so forth.
Wait, there was a campaign of this?
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
I thought I was just like imagining it in my head.
Just a fever dream.
Fever dream.
Yeah. Aabria showed up every week in a fugue state. And that was.
I mean, that's more accurate than you.
But yeah, so we figured we'd do this together because it's much easier to talk to another person while you're having this discussion. If me just doing it by myself would be a little
I wouldn't have let you do it by yourself.
But
that's less about our friendship and more about my need for constant attention.
I mean, I agree, but also what I was gonna say is this is also like a chance for us to have like a last stream before you're off for a little while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that like the reason that I wanted to do it together sort of thing felt like we could get you that extra stream in, before you had to head off.
One more before I take a break.
Another one.
Oh God, so good. Okay.
Right.
So let's start with like just a quick and dirty how our rhyme game went, and I'll give like the loosest one because you have all the context because you were reading the book before. So our group ended up being a Goliath barbarian with a little bit of magic, a dragonborn paladin of
tyranny, I think.
Yeah, it was.
It was the dragon.
It was like all dragon. It was of all dragon gods.
Yeah.
Cool. Just a pan dragon gods. We had a Kalishtar warlock of a light-eating god, a light-eating being.
A lich, actually. I can give you that.
Ooh, a lich?
I can give that away now. She's a lich, but during her lich ritual, she was cast into the realm of the Shadow Plane.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna. I want to know.
She's in my book. Just saying.
All of this.
Just saying.
We're gonna talk about your book too, and then also we had a very, very cool. Actually, they're still alive. They made it out. Well, actually, anyway, Rattle is a bones rogue. Rogue of bones.
Bone rogue.
Yep. We had one character exit the campaign and switch to a
wizard.
Were they just human?
No, they were Dampier. So they had some.
Oh, Dampier. Got it.
They had some like Dampier stuff, but mostly it was human base.
Cute. All right.
With wizard.
Spicy human.
So during the campaign, Gabe wanted to switch characters, so we lost our paladin and gained a wizard, which balance-wise meant we had no healing going into the last end of the.
We didn't really have healing.
Yeah,
before.
No, but you did at least have lay on hands as a thing. You know what I mean? But so you had 0 going into the Grimskull section. But that's not really a big deal.
Which some would say was a really bad choice.
But also, like, you couldn't have changed it. Like, people play what they want to play, and nobody should be forced to be the cleric. You know what I mean?
100%.
I'm okay with 0 healing, but maybe some more supplies would have helped. For sure.
Yeah, that's the one thing we should have done as we were exiting 2 towns.
Yeah,
I was like, hey, can we please have stuff to stay alive?
Or even at the prison. Even at the prison, you could have maybe gotten some potions, or like from the ship captain, or like, you know,
we should have just packed our mummy.
Yeah,
our mummy, we squeeze out some heals.
You could have brought any of your NPCs. They were all. You could have brought the whole legion.
Nope, I had to keep Boogie safe. I stand by that.
It's fair. So like generally the campaign went in a way that I felt was pretty good. We showcased, like, you know, the small missions at the beginning, the variable difficulties of those missions.
Yeah.
The second phase was also sort of like missions, but scale it up, you know, like secret dragon boats and, upside down Netherese towers, that kind of stuff. And throughout all of it, they collected NPCs like goddamn Pokemon cards. And ended up in Lonelywood, where you can do the quest there, which is like the druid one where you met Sonar, and then you can get building as like a reward, and they made like a little tavern and put all their NPCs.
The Cold Bold Tavern.
The Cold Bold was super cool. And so there was a little bit of an interlude of like living and doing stuff, which I thought was fun.
Can I interject really quickly?
Yeah, of course.
To respond something from chat. Like, we have a little more to Dark of Nate. I deeply believe that my opportunity to play Boogie in a future campaign was the one-shot, the Pathfinder one-shot that we did, where I played like a swashbuckler goblin, and I got my ass handed to me. It was a full nightmare. I don't like Pathfinder. That's how good that went. So I'm never going to play Boogie because I feel like I would kill Boogie.
Well, it's possible. And then your heart would break.
It would break into a million pieces.
But so after the sort of
Boogie.
So after the sort of like tavern arc, it was time to do Zardarok basically, and the like Duragar stuff. And that's when things started to get harder, I think. Like, Zardarok and the like engagements at the end of that dungeon are quite difficult. I felt like that was where things really like picked up as a this is dangerous narrative. I also feel like you made the choice to go after Zardarok instead of chasing the dragon that like came out to go and rampage over stuff. Which the game basically assumes you will do that, though it also says like you can't go fight the dragon right now. You know what I mean? Like if you decided to turn around, but the module splits there and says like go fight the dragon, kill Zardarok, right?
Interesting, yeah.
So it kind of lets you do both. But yeah, I mean the thing about it is that entire section is very time sensitive, because if you let the dragon go, then you're going to lose more of 10 towns. And if you take a long rest in Zardarok's castle, fortress,
that's game.
Like, it creates a situation where, like, as a GM, you have to be like, you know, the consequences of taking a lot of time here are that a dragon is burning everything down outside.
Yeah.
You might need your spell slots, but everybody's dying.
Yeah. Like, we got no towns. So cool.
So basically, you managed that. I thought the last fight was pretty dangerous, but there was a bunch of stuff in there that you didn't actually touch. There was some like mushroom stuff and some caves, and there's even a cave that says goes to Underdark in there that you didn't.
Dope.
See. I don't think you can actually go there, but it says that.
That's cool.
So then after that, the campaign starts to ramp up, because it's like you kill Zardarok. Then you go deal with the dragon. We ended up with 2 towns by the end of it.
Yeah.
Oops. Of the
we
10.
had Lonelywood and like half of.
Well, you had half of Bryn Shander. Yeah.
Yeah, it was half of Bryn Shander. 1.5 towns.
And so they took out the Chartleland dragon. Then
I named the Chardelin dragon Scrapples. I just don't think I said it out loud.
You didn't.
Yep.
So they killed the Chardelin dragon, and by the way, it shoots lasers, which is super cool.
Yo, okay. I just shout out to a very cool like construct and concept. That was
also
very fun.
Shout out to subverting dragon expectations, because when my players go like, "Don't stand in a cone," and I'm like, line piece. Just fucking laser beam them. Feels good, but whoa, where was I at? Oh yeah, so Valine shows up after that, or she shows up when you go to fight the dragon, and then she's like, "Hey, you want to steal from the God of Winter and learn secret magic?" And then that's where it kind of goes from there.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I want to mention before we get into like what do we do after is there are some GM choices to make during the campaign, and I wanna explain like why I made certain choices. Because you might be thinking like, oh, I know Grimskull, this like fortress where you go to steal the codicil, right? And get the secret passage into the Netherese tombs that it unlocks in the glacier. When we went there, Auril wasn't there. Well, so the game says you can have Auril not be there because she might be casting her magic in the sky at the time, because she has a rock on the roof, a big old birdie. And she rides it across the sky to keep everything dark every night.
Like you do.
Yeah. Which is why she's weakened, by the way, why she's like not full god power, but like capable of being fought by mortals, because
I like
that magic takes a lot of energy. So you can have her not be there, and one of the winning points, quote unquote, is you kill the rock. Because if you kill the rock while she's not there for some reason, then she takes 20 years to like raise a new rock from an egg, and then she comes back, basically. Likewise, if you kill her and not the rock, she comes back at the winter solstice, because she resurrects every winter solstice. So even if you win, she comes back.
I like that. That's cool.
Yeah. Though Grimskull, the fortress collapses if she dies, by the way. There's like a oh, Auril's dead. Grimskull starts shaking.
I love that trope. Yeah. It's so pulpy and wonderful.
Yeah, it's great.
My only hope is when I am finally defeated.
So there are
and wiped from this world, that my house will crumble around.
Yeah, that would be great.
Around me.
So there are options not to fight Auril at level 8. You could have your party not find her and then do all the Netherese stuff and then come back or something and like take her out then. It is possible. But it also says like she can just be there. You know what I mean? The campaign literally calls out that you can win right here, you know? And given that we had some time limiting factors with like Aabria having to go and like stuff going on, I thought like, let's not drag it out for another 10 sessions going through Netherese tombs, which are really cool, by the way. And if you get a chance to look at them, you really should. Maybe we will a little bit during this stream.
Yeah.
But you know, like have the final confrontation where the game says that you can have it and it is balanced for. I heard some people being like, they're level 8. There's no way they were going to kill her. It's like, no, the game says.
It could happen.
The game says you can. And they were only like 100 HP off of killing her.
Yeah, that's the important one, is that we were doing a really good job of like punching through. And like, yeah, it felt like a more interesting fight than like over preparing and coming back and then having that sort of like, all right, we are over prepared to deal with this. It's like a guaranteed win. And then it kind of ends on that note
and there's stuff in the Netherese tombs that is much stronger than Auril in terms of like general power, like form to form. Auril is like 3 monsters, right?
Yeah.
So there are monsters like 1-to-1 that are better than Auril's forms in the Netherese tombs. The real thing is like you basically lost because of dice. If Dave had been able to hit on the rolls that were made a couple of times, then I think it would have been different. But once they were down, there was no way that was going to go well, because as soon as they get back up, like I as a player and Auril as a, how much intelligence does Auril have? Let me check.
Enough.
Fucking enough for sure. So Auril as a 24 intelligence creature would be like, that guy hurts. blast. You know?
Yeah, right. Like I'm gonna kill the bones real
That's
quick.
it.
Excuse me.
Yeah. So that was the whole thing. The only reason I didn't double tap Rattle is because Rattle has Feign Death, and Feign Death is a spell that prevents all forms of scrying, all forms of knowing that you're alive, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be unfair for me to be like, well, she's a god, so she beats that for some reason.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it was a hella good boss fight. I felt like.
Yo, y'all got to get on this ice troll heart game.
Yeah.
That was fun.
And that was completely optional too, because like you could fight that ice troll out there or not. You know what I mean? And Valine's like, an ice troll heart would be useful, but if the players don't bite, then they don't bite. I thought our walrus friend was super fun.
Oh my goodness, so cute. But I like that. Yeah.
I thought killing Akuma was a good motivation for you to just like go nuts.
That was very fun.
Kill Auril. The other thing was I made the conscious decision that the fight was just going to be in here, and that I wasn't going to teleport to the roof where the rock was, so that you had to come and fight me and the bird. Because, we made some choices about, like, the campaign is over today, and I didn't want to, like, drag it out, sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, man. But, yeah, like, all of that said, it was, like, I love games that feel dangerous and that stakes are there.
I agree.
Like,
yeah.
They end really well in one of two directions. So for what it's worth as a player, and like obviously I don't speak for everyone, but since I'm the only one here, I'll pretend to. Like I thought it was it was a wonderful end. Like we got to go down swinging. It was like cool and interesting. And then you added in a bunch of like really cool narrative elements to like resolve our stories. Which was fun.
I think the thing for me is that there were a couple of ways that it could have gone. And I was prepared for any of the ways. One of them was you win, and then you have to run out of Grimskull as it collapses, and the drama of like the light in the sky opens up, you know what I mean? And like there is sun in Icewind Dale for the first time in months, which I was looking forward to if it worked. The other thing was like obviously dying, right? Could happen, just losing flat out. And I had some stuff for like if all of you died. Like if everyone died, I wasn't going to do any like big epilogues or anything like that, but it felt unfair, a little unfair for like one person to live and have an epilogue, but all like three other people to just be dead. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I felt like I wanted to give that to everybody if I could.
Yeah.
And I could have gone really grim with it because if you were all dead and Rattle got up, our Lady of Frost and Ice is capable of knowing anything that lives or moves in her castle. Like she just
like
knows.
me.
She just knows. So if Rattle got up, I could just be like, and she teleports back.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, but I didn't want to do that either. You know what I mean? It felt like you've made a decision to try and survive, but it means nothing, and that would have been good if I could like evil laugh grimly over the scene, but it didn't feel like that kind of an end,
Yeah.
And that like making sure that everybody feels like they got something out of it in terms of a narrative was more important than me evil laughing. So this stream says, so your party wiped, what's next? Right?
Yeah.
So what's next, Aabria?
I mean, yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, sort of stepping back from the like performative nature of like us running through this module on a stream.
Yeah.
Like knowing full well that there are 2 chapters left of this. Like, let me be very clear. I also have the book. Like, so like one of the first things I did when we were done was like,
I don't have the book. I just have the Roll20. I don't have the book.
Oh, yeah.
D&D doesn't send me stuff. It's cool. No, it's fine. It's fine. Anyway, go. Sorry.
So along with the like knowing that there were 2 chapters left in the campaign module, and as a person, just I am like maximum value. There's more to play here. Like knowing that you could be sitting in this world for like a year with your like home game and your friends.
Yeah, you
and
play like once a month, you know?
Yeah, you don't play as frequently. You go on way more like distracting like sojourns to do like whatever nonsense. You
take a ship journey back to Icewind Dale or back to Neverwinter for a little while.
Exactly.
You know?
They're like knowing that you could like sit in this for a really long time, and then that TPK feels even worse because people are like way more invested in their character. Like there's a lot of paths you can kind of decide with your group as the GM with what to do. If everyone is still super like bought in on the like world, because I actually super love Icewind Dale.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
Fuck.
It's so grim. And I think it's really funny that like we came out so goofy so quickly.
I sort of wish I'd been able to play it a little more Dark Knight, you know, like grim dark kind of style.
100%.
But that just isn't the style of the group, so I didn't want to force it.
Yeah. I mean, for what it's worth, even me sitting here going like, why couldn't we play darker? Like, I also was like,
you contributed
this
to
is
the
a goblin.
group.
It's mine.
Yeah.
I've named them Boogie, and I make beer now. Yeah. Like, so clearly I'm a part of the like the group vibe.
Generally D&D does that. I can't think of a lot of groups that are like, we play this serious mode. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that's actually the thing. And I've like talked about this on like other like interview stuff where it's really hard to sit in any singular tone for a long time. Like you mentioned like that like Dark Knight sort of like if we're talking like Chris Nolan like gritty reboot, like those movies in total are what, like 7 hours?
7 hours,
That's what, 2 sessions? Now if you're talking about doing hundreds of hours of a game, it's really hard to live in like a very dark tone for a really long time.
My favorite tonal streak is the like Avatar The Last Airbender-ish, slightly more violent than, but with the same kind of like, there are consequences, but there are also jokes. You know what I mean? Like kind of a place where the violence isn't over the top, but it is consequential and it does matter and people can die. Is kind of my favorite tonal place for D&D because it reads that way basically.
Yeah, but in and along that, so if you're like, if your table's like still really invested in this location and like willing to, because like it is valid to say that like sometimes TPKs go away where like the party's like, whew, I want to like move on and do something
and the
else.
Next GM in the rotation takes out the next source book and goes like, we're going to Ravenloft, blam, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever. Like, and you go to the next thing. That's fine.
Yeah, that's great too. But like, if you're like, no, we're not really done with this yet. Like, there's a couple things you can do. And I really just like the mental image for me, the one that really sticks with me is that idea of like a massive like footprint in deep undisturbed snow, and then like a new foot like literally stepping into it, and kind of honoring the fact that like the first party that you all played as exists in this world and did something. They swung and they missed, but like the effort is the thing that changes. Like for our group, okay, I want to pitch something. If we were like, nope, you know, big Hasbro was like, we demand.
We wind it up again.
10 more episodes. What do you do? I think it's definitely like pull a party from 1.5 towns and like have just a mob that's inspired by the original group that says like, hey, they didn't do it, but you know what? We've been, and like knowing a little bit about some of like of the way some of the other towns have worked, like we've like cowed to this, we've like bought into it, we've built our entire lives around appeasing Auril, and now it's in our heads that like you can just take her down, and like the god bled, she won in the end, but she can be taken down, and like what's the next group of adventurers that comes up? And if you want to play as like scrappy young like slightly under-leveled, and now they have to do other stuff in Icewind Dale to try to level up to get to the point to like take on Auril. I think that's super cool. If not, go ahead.
I was just gonna. Oh no, please finish your thought, and then I'll go.
Oh, sweet. I was just gonna say, like, if you were like as a group, you kind of decide like metagame wise, like I think we need to be like level 9 or 10 in order to do that. Yeah. Like you can be the group that gets called up from some other part of the Sword Coast. That they were like, okay, well, we understand that there's like 11 of us and we're
Well,
all
the
very hungry 'cause
prison
we-
like ships people in, there's a lot of like news gets back, adventurers are a thing. They're a business in Icewind Dale. Like
right?
the
Like
the Black Iron Blades make their entire money selling shit gear to adventurers. Like
Right? But be the cool dogs that are from down in like Baldur's Gate that get the like you get to have the fun of like the sort of culture shock of being like, it is very cold up here. But like once I get used to not being able to feel my toes, I'm gonna fuck this owl lady up real bad.
I definitely think there's also like a really great place on a TPK to deviate slightly from the module if you're feeling comfortable with like making some stuff up. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I understand that sometimes, like, when you're DMing, you're just like, nah, it's the book. That's what I feel comfortable doing. Some people run modules. That's their DMing style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I respect that because it is harder than it looks. But a TPK is a great time to start making some stuff up. Some interstitial, like, they need to get acquainted with this new reality. Like, there are only 2 towns now, so you can't go to fucking Targos because it doesn't exist, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that kind of stuff. I'm a big fan of and it's been mentioned in chat a couple of times, I'm a big fan of players taking on NPCs if they feel that they want to. I remember in Tomb of Annihilation we met a wizard lady when we were playing in that campaign, and I said, if I die, that's my character. And
oh my god, that's my favorite thing to do is be like,
dibs. Dibs that lady, and then just like moved on, you know what I mean? So like being able to situate somebody in the narrative like solidly, then there's like, I knew those heroes, you know what I mean? And then there's the great pathos of like, you can send that new player playing that previously an NPC in to fight against like the leftovers of the previous player characters or whatever, because like we created this narrative where they mostly lived, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like,
I would love to go and have to fight like Albert Bursa.
Right.
That would be so much fun. Be like, oh no, you're cute. Get the shit out of me. Blast.
And I think there's some fun in like the glorification of your loss a little bit, where it's like, well, you lost, but now you're a sick NPC that's gonna blow us up, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. Like you couldn't do that as a player character, but now you're able to teleport through ice crystals and I don't know, something else that I made up. Right, you know what I mean?
Bursa would be like, she can finally walk on like really smooth ice. Fall down. That's her OP move now.
I specifically destroyed.
I know you did.
Ice so that you
but she would be able to if it popped up. She'd be okay.
The other way you could swing it, if this is assuming you're not interested in the rest of the campaign, or even if you are, maybe another way you could swing it is like, you've lost, but you didn't all die. What happens if you work for Auril here? You know what I mean? Like your characters are intact in whatever shape or form they are, you know?
Yeah.
Does Auril, if you want to use the rest of the campaign, does Auril go like, well, I locked this stuff away, but you know what would really help me keep this fortress safe? Getting that shit out of that Netherese tomb. Go get it for me.
Yeah.
Use the poem. Open the door. Bring me the Archmage staff or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do it myself because I have to cast this spell every night.
I'm over here. I'm doing like a spell. There's a wand. There's a bird. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. It's like involved and tiresome, you know? So there is like that option as well where you go like, well, if you want to keep your character, if you're very invested in the characters that have like already died, sort of.
Yeah.
There's that option as well. And you can sort of like twist the motivation for getting that stuff from the Netherese ruins, because, hey, I mean, it's about your enjoyment in the end. The book is a guideline at the most, right?
Yeah.
I
also want to offer up like kind of a proggier take on repartying. So I really like the idea of like, if you don't have like a group of NPCs, like obviously we collected like 4,000 NPCs, so we had like a bunch to choose from. But if you don't, I think it would have been cool to say like a mob, a low level but like super deep bench mob shows up to like take on Auril, and every player has like 3 level 5 to 6 characters. So like the fight becomes this sort of like macro and micro. So like on your turn and initiative, you pick one of your 3 and you can have like a zoom in on a special moment. And then you can add in like interesting mob rules for like how quickly you can move through spaces and like how much of the group gets knocked out. And then eventually you kind of get down to like the last couple.
Yeah.
And face off against like third form Auril, like if she stays in Winter's Womb, like I don't even hate that it's like it's still her with only 100 hit points left, but you're down leveled and you're the last of like a big mob that came to do it. So the chips are against you, but you can still win. Like, I don't know. I think there's something like really cool there that you could play with depending on how comfortable you are with being flexible about how to handle
improvising as well.
Yeah, exactly. And as someone who like does improv, I'm like, yeah, let's just make it up. And like, a lot of people are like, Aabria, please don't do that. I'm like, no, I wanna.
I totally agree with you. So when I was reading the like next 2 chapters, it's basically delving for secret magic. Like the Arcane Brotherhood, their entire motivation was let's go get stuff from Netheril, basically. And there is an ending, and spoiler alert if you're not into this, there is an ending to the campaign where the players use a staff to reactivate a thing in the Netherese ruins and send themselves hurtling back in time to when it was a flying city in the sky. And that's the end of the campaign after that. It's just like you look around and it's the ruin you were just in, but it's like in the sky and working, and there are people walking around and stuff. Yeah.
Elf, please give me this.
I
want it.
I mean,
please send Bursa as a bear into the past.
It's very funny, right? Like it's kind of like it's very much like and now you're in ancient Netheril. Have fun.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Oh man. I also imagine that there's a bunch of stuff.
Do you then try and prevent the spell plague? You know what I mean? Like,
yo, there's so much. Oh my God. And I cannot imagine a world in which the DM's Guild doesn't have like, hey, are you new to like the lore of this world? Come check this out. If you're like, we got sent to the past, but my players won't shut up and move on to Candlekeep. They want to keep going. Here you go. And now you have like a really cool basis to start like improvising your own game and like building up your homebrew if that's something you're interested
in. Yeah. The other really great thing about it is that the game gives you a fail epilogue in terms of like we all died to Auril. And I read a piece of box.
I do be that way sometimes.
I read a piece of box. I read a piece of box text that was like, the sky stays dark. Eventually, it gets too cold for anything to live in the area, and like portals from the ice level of hell, like from Stygia, like start opening up to like let ice demons in, and like Zardarok's clan, the Duragar, like start claiming the surface, and like all of this stuff happens. And what you could do is you could do, okay, we failed, but flash forward 6 months when all of this happens, new team of adventurers gonna try and fix what was broken, because we can't let ice demons from hell take over the fucking north of the mortal plane, you know what I mean? Like,
right?
Or the material plane. It's like you can't do it,
Oh man, I would pull some like cool modules that I've like played in like the Avernus lore book and be like, all right, Mad Max, but cold Max.
Well, and you could do that. You know what I mean? Like it sort of sets you up narratively for that.
Hold on, Elf is Bursa Auril?
No.
Reggae Starks made a very cool point, and I think that is canon.
I'm not sure about that.
I think that's the truth.
I'm not sure about that. But
I think it's true.
You may believe whatever you want to believe. That's the power of imagination.
You all heard it here, folks, and we're on D&D's channel. My owlbear is a god. Ta-da!
Ta-da! Ta-da!
But yeah, kind of go. Sorry, are you done? Go
ahead. Go ahead.
I also just like that idea that like if you want to stay in the like failed state, like I love the like stuff that's like evoked within the failed state.
Yeah.
And I think even if you like move on to the next campaign, I think it's a really like narratively satisfying and cathartic thing to do for your players in honoring that state with whatever you do next. So like say you
Yeah.
start a new thing in Candlekeep, like word travels down to the book place that like, oh no, the cold place is terrible now. And like it's kind of this like almost a Song of Ice and Fire level, like, is it hyperbolic? Like, is it true? Is the North like that? Well, that's a wild place anyway. And then you can start to play with these interesting politics of like, is that everyone's problem? Is that the North's problem? And at what point do you like, as the rest of the Sword Coast,
at what
like,
point does it start to become
intervene and care about
apocalyptic?
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's incredibly
because
cool.
There's no way Auril would be satisfied with just like this. Now that all of this
Thank
is
you.
cold, let's make more stuff cold. Sweep it
Yeah.
down the
Cold,
entire
please.
Swords Coast, you know?
More cold, please.
I'm a big fan as a DM and as a player, but mostly as a DM, I'm a big fan of persevering consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't like the idea of something happened, but we don't mind that it happened and everything is cool. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of, like, our narrative lent this way, and that's where it goes now. And if you want to fix it, you got to do something to fix it. You can't just, like, it doesn't just go away on its own.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love
it.
So the idea of, like, even if you move on to another campaign, keep the fail state. You know what I mean? Feels really good.
Honor it. Like, that's dope. And even, like, yeah, like, it makes the loss feel like, I don't think it makes it feel worse for the party. It's just like you fell in the like service of trying to do something to save the world. And even though you like fell short, like, man, it's important that you tried. Like, I think that's a very cool thing to lean into.
It gives weight to the previous play.
Yep.
Right? Because regardless win or lose, there was going to be some consequence. And if you're only cool with that consequence being the win, then why roll any dice? You know what I mean? Almost. Like to my experience, like the way that D&D narratively suggests things is like, if it is a foregone conclusion, then don't roll dice. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to roll an athletics check for the opening of every door, be ready to tell them no, it doesn't open. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I'm a big fan of like maintaining that integrity of a narrative. I think that there's a lot of possibility for well, we failed, but the next guys will succeed, and we're the next guys, and we're gonna go do it. And you get to play with like a little bit more of a fun sort of like, this place was horrible, now it's horrible. You know, like sort of state. Like, now it's not just mortally horrible, it's like existentially impossible to exist in. All the wildlife has moved south because it is too cold to live here. You know, like, and with them all the natives as well, because what are you gonna do if there's no animals? Like, you know, if there's no hunting, like, I don't know. And getting to fight your previous characters is just a sick anime moment that I really, I think that's like, I want to be able to provide Bursa with the Dark Souls boss fight Bursa, you know, like vibe, or like, you know, our Yeshivon boss fight for the Emissary of Dark and Cold. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be sick.
That's dope. And like, I think there's something cooler than like having that battle and then being like, here was your updated stat block. Like, once you leaned into the frost, like, describe a couple ways that like the NPC version of your former character is different and like warped by what happened. And and
I mean, working with players for that kind of stuff is great as well. If you're like, hey, don't tell the others, we're gonna have a secret meeting to talk about what your character can do now, tell me about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And like,
stuff.
My experience has always been, no one is like crueler to a like PC than the player of the PC. And they're like, my arms fell off, my jaw's unhinged, and there's just cold pouring out of my nose at all times. And they're like, ew, okay, I was gonna say like you run faster, but sure.
It's the whole like I created you just to suffer, so suffer.
Yeah.
I feel you. And I think that's you know, you have to work player to player with that kind of stuff. Some people don't want to be reminded that, you know, they have lost a character, or they feel, you know, like dearly about them, and maybe you want to like exclude them from that situation. Give them something else to work with, like something else to like be dramatic for them, for their current character, or what have you. it does come down to like knowing your group a little bit when it comes to fail states,
100%.
because dying is hard. You know,
It is.
Like being the people who tried and failed is something we all know a little bit in real life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like being smart about that and presenting that in a way that like feels good for everybody is important too. But also,
I just want to jump in and
Yeah.
like we mentioned earlier, the tone reset, like the tone thing. I think that's also an opportunity. If you say like, we're coming back in, we've got 3 episodes, you're higher level and everything's scarier and cooler. You can come in and say like, there's no time for jokes. Like we're going in, the tone is dark. This place was like, the place sucked before and it was kind of funny. And now it's just like, no, it's brutal and cold. And we're all going to hold this while we kind of like do a speed run into like these cool boss battles.
Yeah.
So I think there's also an opportunity
where
to like,
it's like you don't have to drag it out, right? You can just be like, okay, you lost, but give me like a week to set some new stuff up. And then we're going to go back in and it's going to be hella cool, you know?
Yeah,
and like,
right?
And you just cut out the middleman of like futzing around and get right in there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like with your level 13 blade singer or whatever.
Let's go.
Like
Because like that's the fun thing about like, all right, you guys, everyone gets 2 more levels. So you build a level 10 character. You know exactly what you're up against because you've seen it. So build the thing you want to win. So now it's no longer the thing, especially like for our group that is like we skew towards like, I want to have like RP and like a cool character arc. It's like, no. Please provide me a killing machine.
This is your Dark Souls / Monster Hunter character. Make it for killing things.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's actually like a fun thing too, because once again, it's hard to hold anything for a long time. And like, as someone who loves roleplay, if you're like, hey, we have 3 episodes, please build me a monster. I'm like, oh, Munchkin. And then like a min-maxer jumps out of my mouth, eats my entire countenance, and I turn into a different beast. And that's going to be great. Like that's also fun too. So I think it's also just providing your players, your party, the opportunity to do something different with what still remains.
I would just play a monk because monks are the greatest class. They're my favorite.
Play something else. Girl, you've got the range.
No. Why? When
Wild.
I can punch things? Come on.
Wild.
I
would demand that you play a caster.
I mean, I can play something. I'm
demand
more than capable of play a warlock. It's fine.
You have to be a bard.
I can do that. I've been
you
a bard.
You have to be a bard that whistles all their spells.
I don't want to whistle into my microphone, so I can't do that. I can't do that. But I was a bard for like 30 sessions of a campaign on this for Dragon Heist. I was bard.
I'm sorry, that predates me. So
I know,
exist.
it doesn't exist.
I have an object permanence thing, so like if I wasn't there for it, it didn't happen.
I understand entirely. But so like getting back on our current topic, I think there's something to do. There's something that like feels good about you didn't win, but now we can set you up to win, sort of thing. So like if you want to do the whole like it's even worse, but like you can handle even worse, you know?
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. As to the rest of the campaign, it is possible to pursue it without touching Auril at all. So the Arcane Brotherhood wants the stuff that's in the Netherese ruin. And if you can get the codicil, then you can open it. If you know the rhyme of the Frost Maiden, you can open the glacier. So there are a bunch of fucking awesome Arcane Brotherhood NPCs, and if you run out of them, then you can make your own. The game basically says, like, if they're all dead, make up a wizard, basically. But, like, for instance, you know that simulacrum that you guys met that was like, I want to be a real boy?
Yeah!
He was
Zan.
Yeah.
Zan!
He was a member of the Arcane Brotherhood. So he's like a guy that you could have, if he survived or whatever, you could have him be like, so the Arcane Brotherhood sent me a letter that, like, Valine is dead. But we're going to go in and get the codicil, and then we're going to do it. You know what I mean? But we're going to wait until, like, we can be really sneaky about it, you know? And then...
Ooh, what if you played this Arcane Brotherhood, like, not Pulp Fiction, the Tarantino movie, but, like, pulp, like, archaeologist wizards that are like, we gotta go do a sneak mission.
Yeah, you could also do, like, the new player characters are members of the Arcane Brotherhood, and they also want to get in there, so sneak mission time, you know? What I'm saying is, like, if you want to preserve the Auril fail state, you can do the rest of the campaign without without bothering her at all. Basically, you can do the rest of the campaign like as a separate thing. You know, it's like a magical expedition, and you don't have to worry about Auril. So if you did that, like what I would do is if you wanted to do both, you know what I mean? You could do. Well, we want to finish the campaign book because I paid $39.99 for it or whatever, and I want to fucking do the last 2 chapters because I've read them and prepared for them. Then you do that immediately. You have the Arcane Brotherhood send in a sneak mission, and get in there, and get the codicil. Maybe the codicil like makes it out with Rattle or something. You know what I mean? Or like with your like one surviving party member, and they get the codicil until they go to the glacier. And you do the last 2 chapters, and you get teleported back in time to Ancient Netheril or whatever, if that's what you end up doing. There are a couple of endings. Then, 6 months down the road, when you've played a little bit of Candlekeep or you're doing some other campaign, and your DM goes, hey, what about Icewind Dale? How's that going? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then you can talk about, like, the news that is filtered down and talk about going to handle it with your your other characters that you've built up elsewhere,
I love that.
And then you can have the long distance flashback to the old PCs, right? There's like space and time to like separate hot emotion or like feeling from those things and be like, well, I really like my guy Steve, so I don't worry about my player character Jim Bob here. Like, that's fine. We can like make him an enemy,
Yeah, 100%.
Like, it's that whole thing. It create a little more distance. I don't know. That's just a thought that I had.
It's a good thought.
I think that's what I would do if I were like intent on finishing Icewind Dale. I'd be like, Arcane Brotherhood hit squad, get in there, do Arcane Brotherhood stuff, and then after we finished a lot of campaign elsewhere, come back, do the Auril fight again, but like more intense with some more special abilities I've added or something because she's in the frostiest frost kingdom that there is. Yeah. That'd be my move, I think.
I have a question. I don't know if you prepped for this at all, so oops. Can we like look at any of the maps and stuff?
Oh, of course.
That we didn't do?
Yeah.
Cool.
Are you in the roll? You're gonna get in the roll 20, Aabria.
Wait, I have to open roll 20?
Yeah.
No. Who would have thought? Roll 20 is a great place. Please do the spiel. Do the spiel. Do it.
If you want to be able to organize all of your stuff without having to make a million post-it notes attached to the pages of your Icewind Dale Realm of the Frostmaiden.
I feel attacked by that little bit.
Roll 20 has already done that for you in this handy-dandy Roll 20 version of Icewind Dale Realm of the Frostmaiden. All the tokens are already laid out. All of the pages are already available. All you have to do is click things instead of leafing through paper. Roll 20, better than paper. There you go. You wanted to spiel.
Someone clip that. I loved that with my whole chest.
You wanted to spiel. There you go.
That's a good one.
So, I'll assign you GM privileges so you can see stuff. So give me.
But I've never GM'd before.
Give me one.
Ever, anywhere.
It says you're GM on this overlay, so.
Tight.
It's too late. Let me just look at the settings for the game so I can assign you as a GM. Gotta go a little bit back out. Promote.
Can I also just say I am extremely miffed that I have to step back because of just other work obligations.
It's cool.
But y'all are going like, so we've been doing like a rotating like GM thing, and I was like for sure gonna like just absolutely like Highlander battle you to the death for the GM's like spot in general. And then it ended up being Candlekeep, a place that I have a lot of strong, good feelings about. And I was like, no.
I mean, I would have given it to you gladly. I don't want, truth be told, I don't want to be the perennial GM. I think I provide quite a lot of player benefit from my end.
I don't know. I've played with you before.
That's true. Yeah, I'm awful.
I'm kidding. I laugh.
So if you refresh, you should be able to see things from a GM point of view, Aabria.
All right, let's check it out.
Yeah.
Bleep, blop, Lord. I finally got all zoomed in.
So once you're refreshed, you can go to the journal, and you should be able to see all the journal inputs. which is top middle. You know, like
ooh,
you see it all? Okay.
Yeah, this is great.
So chapter 5 is where we ended, which is Auril's abode. This is where we ended. But chapter 6 is the Caves of Hunger, and it's the next one. So it says like it focuses on exploring the ice caves. There's a good chance Valine is there. If she died, you can use Professor Scant the Orb as a substitute guide. If not, you can just furnish them with an NPC they need. If we open the maps, you can see right next to where we are, Grimskull, there's Caves of Hunger, which would be our next map.
Amazing.
Because it's basically like you race to the glacier, you open the glacier using the Rime of the Frost Maiden. There's some like ambushes by elk and tiger natives on the glacier. And then you read the Rime of the Frost Maiden and you get into the Caves of Hunger, and it's a huge map. It's freaking absolutely massive. Like look at the size of it.
My gosh.
Just zoom out all the way. It is huge.
That is wild. Oh. Do you ever
big.
Okay, I have an honest, like, please be honest.
Yeah.
But not mean, because you know I'm very sensitive. Are you sad that we never got to the Caves of Hunger?
I'm not the greatest dungeon running GM. I would say, like, it's not my forte to run you through like a series of rooms. Sometimes I misread things or I forget stuff.
I forget stuff all the time.
And it changes like the outcome, or it changes like the way that things progress. So I'm not super mad that we didn't get to do this super big Doom dungeon. But I do like playing D&D with you, so more of it would have been nice. You know what I mean?
Aw, same.
It's like a whole, that's kind of where I'm at. So if we go to the Caves of Hunger section, we go into the Caves of Hunger in the journal, and it opens the Caves of Hunger, and it gives
really quick. I do just want to honor a beautiful comment from the chat that said, "Looks like contestants," and now I am only referring to my guts as the Caves of Hunger, because it also works.
It works. So in the Caves of Hunger, there are some psychic trauma mechanics, which is super fun. I don't like imposing things on characters without asking them when it comes to like mental trauma and stuff like that. Yeah. So it would be something where I'd ask my characters if you want to roll or whatever. There's a creature in the Caves of Hunger that is the most fearsome, and it is the Tekli Lee, a gnoll vampire.
Ooh, what a cutie!
The party should meet them several times. Vampire strategy is to drain the party's resources, then retreat and recover. If Tekli Lee ever takes more than 20 damage in an encounter, it runs, turns to mist and runs away. You can stage an encounter with it anywhere on the map, so like it's just like they should meet it several times. It can be anywhere, and then eventually they handle it. But what's great is Scant the orb. There's a lot of orb prompts in here that are like, if the orb is with you, it offers commentary. So like there's a Crash Sky Coach in H2, for example, and Scant goes, a Netherese Sky Coach. I've always wanted to ride one of those. Pity it's no longer in one piece. Or like in the icicle section where there's part of a Netherese tower, it says, that tower appears to be of Netherese construction. Were it not for the cracks and holes, the stone would be smooth as glass, shaped by wizardly magic. You know? Stuff like that. Just like,
that's cute. I like it.
Color commentary through the sections, which is
I like it. Oh,
nice.
Do you remember the old like VH1 show pop-up video?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like all the little bubbles is just Professor Scant.
But yeah, so Gnoll Vampire is your main like villain during all of this.
That's cute.
And eventually you get to some Raymer raises and some, there's a whole bunch of nice encounters in here. And a lot of like slightly weird holes as well, which is cool, and a big tentacle thing in H31, which I have to check what it is because I don't know.
Yeah, what's that bad boy?
Something beyond mortal comprehension exists partially inside the wall of ice, partially within some distant horrific demiplane. As this otherworldly entity peers into the cavern, visitors risk losing their sanity to its influence. Any creature that comes within 20 feet of the wall of ice is targeted by a dominate monster spell. Cool. It's a thing. It's a thing in the wall. There's also a mummy in here. As well somewhere. And there's also a stone cube that is a spitting mimic. Anything that touches it automatically adheres to it, and it, does some... Basically, there's a whole bunch of cool stuff. We also get some startings for like the Nothics, which are the sort of like Netherese goons, if you know what I mean, like the magically created goons. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of cool stuff. And then in chapter 7, it's the Doom of Etheren, which is like you go further into the caves and you find the wrecked ass city of Etheren, the Netherese.
You didn't have to finish that sentence, and I was already bought in.
Netherese city, and in Netherese city of Etheren, you're gonna deal with Auril, the Demi-Lich, who is a remaining Netherese, like wizard who's still doing stuff though unsuccessfully. And it's his staff that you want because it like activates a whole bunch of stuff in the spire. Also, you can get a scroll of Tarask from the Spire of Auril.
Tarask under my control or just Tarask?
Let me check. It says, using the action to read scrolls causes the Tarask to appear in an unoccupied space you can see within 1 mile of you. It disappears.
And is friendly to you.
No, it disappears when it drops to 0 hit points and is hostile to all creatures other than itself.
And you, who it loves like a mother.
No, there's none of that. There's no loving. It's just it's a Tarask.
Oop. That's actually very cool. I have never, that's like on the list of like stuff in like D&D's world that I have never interacted with as either a player or as a GM. I am very sad that I've never been anywhere near Tarask, and I want to like
take a look.
I just want to know.
Take a look.
It's in a book.
I mean, it's not. It's literally on the internet next to you.
It's still a book.
If you want, take a look at the pages. Like if you go open the pages and go to the Spire of Aurilarthus, which is the like last page. Because there's a map for the Necropolis, which is like Ithrin in general, and the like general locations. But the Spire of Aurilarthus is the last section, basically, of the game. Let me take a look here. So, there's a bunch of Megan, some brains in a jar, a bunch of brains in a jar, in fact.
I love brains in a jar.
There is a room that contains 6 staves in racks along the wall. There's random different staves that might do stuff. There's a room just called the Chamber of Sorcery, which seems good. Basically, there's a whole bunch of things. And there's one section where there are 8 doors and like 8 chairs, and you have to have a wizard that has a focus in a particular domain to match the chair to open the door. Some stuff like that.
Oh, man. Shoot. Now I really want to do like a comeback as
the Arcane Brotherhood, right? Yeah.
Oops, all Brotherhood. Okay. How about some point later on in the year, we come back and do like a one shot for like, or like a mini shot, and like come back and just mess around in this place. Cause it actually seems like really fun and I want to do more.
Yeah. I mean, I like, if I get the opportunity, I'll run it. It's fine.
Yeah.
We're talking about what to do next, and maybe 6 months after we're done Candlekeep or whatever, we come back and kick ass through the Spire and all that fun stuff.
Do some cold stuff.
It'll be good, yeah. I don't promise anything, but I do indeed think it would be cool. So if we look at Aurilarthus, or Aurilarthus, he is a Demi-Lich. So he is like a Sarorak in that way.
That is a dark mark. Excuse me, book. That is a dark mark.
What?
The little like skull with stuff coming out of it looks just full Harry Potter. I'm like, no, I've written fan fiction about that drawing. Let's go. That's a dark mark.
Kind of does. So Demi-Liches are fun. They're very strong, and like when we look at this guy's stats, he only has 80 HP, or like just regular Demi-Lich. He only has 80 HP, but has an armor class of 20.
Whew.
and resistance to like everything, and his challenge rating 18, just generally.
But like how
have a bunch.
smoothable?
I mean, he's a skull, a floating skull. So you let me know.
Not a deal breaker.
All right. He has a howl that is a DC 15 con save or drop to 0 HP. Like, you make the con save or you're dead.
Amazing.
He also has life drain, which is a DC 19 con save or take 21 damage. And
golly, that is so high.
And he heals that damage.
Yeah, that's
so,
so high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Demi-Liches are nasty. When you look at Irilithris compared to Auril, I think Irilithris, like the Demi-Lich, has a higher CR than Auril. I'm gonna check. Well, the thing about Auril is I guess she has 3 character sheets because she has 3 forms. Her first form is only like CR8, I think. CR9 for her first.
Okay.
Her first form.
A cold crone.
Her second form, Lady Ice Kiss, has a challenge rating.
Once again,
10.
feel like I don't know if there was like a moment that Bursa missed because she was pretty non-interested romantically, but like it's in the title. And I feel like we missed an opportunity there.
Yeah. I mean, you know, if you had kissed Auril, I would have come up with some narrative closure because I actually think like I knew the fight was over at that point when we were all joshing about like, do I kiss her? You know, like, do I smooch the giant lady?
Did I do a smooch? Did just like a little and then move on? Yeah.
I mean, if you had, I would have come up with something. I guarantee it. Yeah. So I mean, like, it gets harder, you know. Like,
yeah.
Chapters 6 and 7 are no slouches, basically. That's what I would say, and I kind of think there might be some fun coming back to it. So there's a whole notice in Chapter 7 for dealing with the Arcane Brotherhood. In this chapter, 2 wizards of the Arcane Brotherhood attempt to realize their grand ambitions: Valine Harpel and Avarice. Avarice is another wizard. That's
a very on the nose name, Avarice. Like, yeah. Excuse me.
She's a tiefling. She's a tiefling, and tieflings are always named after like feelings and stuff. As like,
they don't have to be.
No, but
that feels real goofy.
I mean, it's like
also wizards also do the like I have a wizard name because there's power in a name, and you were like, I'm gonna be named Greedy, and don't worry, everyone will trust me in my magic.
But also, like, if you want to be a spooky wizard, you've gotta pick a name that makes you sound spooky, right? Like,
I don't think that makes you sound spooky. I think it just means like
she's
gonna see one of my fish chicks when I'm not looking.
She's an albino tiefling evoker with a pair of gargoyle companions. Just so you know who she is.
That's cool.
It's pretty sweet.
The bells.
She also has the secret support of the archdevil Levistus, having traded her soul years ago for a first taste of magical power.
I mean, like you do. Tight.
Yeah.
Love your tomb, by the way. Love that eldritchification. Love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically just May's little ice heel made into an EI from Overwatch, and it's very cute.
So Avarice is like involved with the cult of the Knights of the Black Sword, who we didn't at all have to deal with because you didn't.
Who?
You didn't do anything related to them.
I don't know her. What?
But so basically, like the whole conflict up here is that both Valine and Avarice will do almost anything to obtain Irilithris' spellbook, and they're only slightly less determined when it comes to the Staff of Power, Scroll of Comet, and the Scroll of Tarask Summoning. Also, if you helped Zan become a real person in Chapter 2, he might also be here.
Aww.
Zan isn't nearly as helpful as Valine, nor as dangerous as Avarice, but he's just as greedy and self-serving. Roleplay him accordingly.
Can I just say, I think Zan is probably my favorite, like, just a stopping block of an NPC. We're like, what do we do? I just remember being lost as a player, like, this is a Pinocchio trap, and I do not know what to do here. And just, I very much enjoyed flailing about like the Zan problem.
It was really fun. And Zan as a character, I played him so goofy.
He was so goofy. We're like, I can't be scared. He seems silly, but I'm not trying to die because I took, like I did. That was also like the same episode where I tried to like potion off of the ground because we couldn't catch anything.
So reading a little bit further along, Avarice shows up because she follows the player characters through the Caves of Hunger to Etheren, and then he kills any NPCs they left behind to guard the caves. Anybody they left, they're dead.
Wow.
Also, she's joined by 2 gargoyles, her raven familiar, and 20 knights of the Black Sword cult, and 10 roped mountain goats that the cultists use for food and use to set off traps.
The goats would be my only priority, but yeah, that's the heat you gotta pack.
If Huar War Mulfoon and Fel Supara are alive, what fucking names? Huar War Mulfoon. Oh boy.
You know, from the New England Mulfoons.
Huar War Mulfoon, you know, and Fel Supara.
Fel Supara is a very cool wizard name.
I think it's pretty good, yeah. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of like, Avarice could be your ally as well, but unlike Valine, Avarice prefers to remain like behind and use telepathic bond to like communicate with you, from like a huge distance, whereas Valine's like, yo, let's go. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So yeah, that's, you know, there's some stuff dealing with the Arcane Brotherhood. It's great.
That's fun. It feels like it becomes a different game. Like, that's very cool.
It kind of does. Yeah, it kind of does, because it becomes all about like these jealous wizards and which one you want to help or none of them. You know what I mean? Which is pretty fun.
I'm a huge fan of like social politics in RPGs, and like, yeah, this like just the concept of like what you are doing, like the meta game you're playing on top of like exploration and like killing bad guys, like that's scratching a lot of itches for me. This is very cool.
Yeah, and there's a lot of fun stuff in here that we didn't get to. I don't know it all by heart because I didn't read it because I knew we weren't going to get there at a certain point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So a lot of it is like running through it and being like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. You know? It was like, I kind of saw the end coming and went, I think the end is here, and then went, I don't need to know about chapter 6 or 7. So the information I did learn about it has been sort of drained out of my brain. But yeah, the whole like, so in the epilogue section, after chapter 7, you can see there's an epilogue section, and there are 5 epilogues, so to speak.
So cool.
And depending on the character's actions, it changes. So there's What Secrets Remain, which is allowed time at the end for players to reveal any character secrets that haven't come to light, like stuff about like that we picked at the beginning. Some people want to keep their character's secrets buried. For others, trying to find them, you know, like finding the signet ring or, you know, whatever, that kind of stuff. A slad tadpole bursting out of your stomach, that fun stuff.
Yeah, you know, all that good stuff.
And then the victory is Summer is Coming.
We love it. We love a goof. That's a good goof.
Slaying Auril or her rock prevents the Frost Maiden from casting her nightly spell. The characters can also counteract the Frost Maiden's everlasting winter through using the Etheren Myth Pilar to change the weather. So you can find,
or, you know, casting Dispel Magic.
You can find you can find an object that basically has powerful enough magic to do that. You know what I mean? Normal seasonal weather returns to Icewind Dale. Fun. Auril's defeat is temporary because she's a god and you can't kill gods. The characters can help 10 towns rebuild their settlement in the wake of the rampage. If the dragon hasn't been defeated, finding it and destroying it should be a priority. Like, it could still be there.
Scrapples.
One of the ending things is like characters could be asked to take up the mantle of speaker in one or more communities, which we actually did.
We did it.
Yeah.
Fun.
Though one of the other speakers is supposed to oppose the political ascension of any adventurers.
Love it.
Then there's Winter Everlasting, which is the one I read for you like live. And then Year of the Chilled Marrow, which is if the characters use the Staff of Power to activate the obelisk, they inadvertently reset the world to a time predating the fall of Ithrin and the end of Netheril. The obelisk sends them back to spring of -343 DR, the Year of the Chilled Marrow, 6 months prior to the catastrophe that causes Ithrin's fall, and another 4 years before Netheril's demise. The characters find themselves high in the sky over Icewind Dale. Use the following box text to set the scene. And then the box text is...
No, do it. Read it. You give me full GM. Paint me a word picture.
Okay, all right. I will.
Let's go.
The obelisk is gone, leaving an indentation in the ground where it once stood. In its place is an Aarakocra with brilliantly colored plumage. Using telepathy, it reaches out to each of you in turn and introduces itself as Nikali. I am released from a duty long forgotten, it says. The world has rolled back more than 1,500 years. Now history can be rewritten. The city is no longer trapped deep beneath the ragged glacier. Instead, it drifts among the clouds, its spires and other structures agleam and undamaged. A sky coach glides overhead, bathing you briefly in its shadow before making its way to the city's glass-enclosed skydock. Weaving between the city's spires are boulevards traversed by tall humans of noble bearing in wizardly robes, many of them accompanied by hairless, green-skinned humanoids that serve as their valets and bodyguards. Some take note of your presence, while others gawk at the empty space where the obelisk once stood. That's the box text. Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah. By the way, it's now under the rule of the living Lich Urilathorus and his apprentices, the Wizards of the Arcane Star, 8 evil archmages. And almost every other inhabitant is either a Netherese mage or a green-skinned Megan.
Cool.
And it is a floating Netherese city. And to run a campaign set in this earlier time frame, you will need to delve into earlier products tied to the Forgotten Realms to get a lay of the land circa -343 DR. Of course, once the characters move beyond the strongholds of civilization, the realms of the past is very much like the realms of the present, a land of mystery. With old ruins and lost dungeons waiting to be explored, only now the characters are poised to witness the inevitable fall of Netheril or find a way to stop it.
Ooh.
That's the last piece of text.
That's cute. That is incredibly cute. This is an incredibly cute book.
It's great.
Actually, I like it. Yeah. Oh man. Good job, D&D.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a ton of stuff that like can still be accessed and interacted with, and we've talked about like a bunch of really good ways to like out reinvesting a party into the world post TBK.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm doing like a power it down now.
It feels like you're powering it down.
I didn't mean to. I just like this like sort of summation.
Honestly, I'm cool. I'm cool with it. You know, it's fine.
Yeah. I just then let me just say I am very invested in like wanting to empower like people to embrace the idea of like PC death and like not letting that be the end, because like, yes, you are an actor in this, like you're playing your main character, but you're also the director. You're also like at a table of writers and you're writing this like big story of a thing that is, you are the heroes of any story that you're like at the table for, but like the story is bigger than any one person. And I think having that sense of like scope and scale makes for the sort of epic storytelling that like we love so much in Dungeons and Dragons specifically. Like it is epic, it's long sweeping, it's long lived, and like you can be part of the like history of the world if you can release yourself from the idea of like, we died, we failed, and it's done.
I think one of the things that I would add to that, and I agree with you entirely, like it is a group effort to make a cool thing, you know? It's not on the DM, it's not on the players to necessarily do any one thing. And you mentioned like acting, you were an actor in it, but there's no script, and also there's no telling what could happen. You know what I mean? Like badness and goodness can come out of any situation, you know?
Yeah.
And you got to be ready. You got to be ready to like yes, and you got to be ready to accept what happens, or at least talk about it with your GM or with your players. Like if you're the GM and stuff is going weird, which does happen.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that really strikes me is D&D is a game of seasons. Like just because in season 1 of the TV show you guys were the heroes and you tried to kill Auril, doesn't mean that in season 2 you are not a roadblock to the people who want to solve your mistake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like that in a TV show we were watching, we'd be like, whoa, you know, that's so cool.
Yeah.
But like when you're emotionally invested in a thing, or you're like tied very closely to a thing, the like peaks and valleys can be a lot more impactful to your like vibe. You know what I mean? But I think sometimes it's important to take a step back and be like, what does this look like for everyone? Not just for me, but for all of us, you know? And like, what does it look like, especially for us as like people who do it on stream and have an audience, you know? What does it look like for the audience? You know, what does it look like from the outside, right? Like that's another factor, but not as applicable to home games, right? At home games, it's like, what does the table want? You know what I mean? Not one person at the table, not the GM at the table, but the table. Like everybody at the table. And there should be input when it comes to what you do after a TPK from everybody. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I try and think of it, like a game of seasons, like in season 2, Bursa is the ferocious, unwilling guardian of Grimskull, and what does that mean for her? She's not the central character anymore. We're focusing on these guys. She might come up, she might not, you know what I mean? Yeah. But that's where she's at. And the consequences of season 1 persist into season 2.
I love it so much. Man, I love telling stories. It's so cool. It's very cool.
I want to see the Lost Minds characters come back and kill Auril now.
Oh my God. Just Litter Sitter comes in. Excuse me. It's very cold here. Does a smooch.
I mean, I was already playing a character that had a history that was they already failed to do something so, in that game. So.
Yeah. That's so good. That's so good.
Yeah, I think closing wise, because I don't think we have 3 hours of stuff to talk about.
Oh yeah, no.
I think closing wise, my statement to you guys would be, we have a lot of suggestions about what you can do on a TPK, but they are only suggestions, and that your table will need to discuss what it is they feel like. We've maybe given you some options for like empowering that discussion with thoughts about what you could do, but that if everybody wants to move on, maybe it's time to move on, or everybody
but
wants
if you're
something.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
No, please.
I actually really like, now that I know more about like this like Netherese ending option, I think there's something really cool if your table's just like, nah dog, like I love these characters and I want another run at it. Like you even have a vector by which to say like, yeah, and in those like last couple moments, everything goes black and then it resets like right before you walk in. And like one person, whoever was like the last one standing before the reset, hears something in like a voice that they understand, but with like a Netherese or an unfamiliar accent that says like, you have one more shot and then you have to come find me after.
It's like, I saved you because you're the only people who can save Netheril.
Exactly. And now you have a dope hook to like do the rest and like get to that other cool ending. And like, for people who are just like, I did what? Did someone tell me to go? Okay, and we all remember how it went the first time? Like, that's dope. Like, it's fun. It's super fun.
Auril, I've come to bargain.
Yeah. This time you try the kiss method. See if it works.
Go in for the smooch.
Go in for the smooch early. And then the Netherese are just like, please just kill her. What are you doing?
I was gonna have you make a con save on that one or start the like ice statue petrification, but like from your lips, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Amazing. It would have been her little beak. She was in.
Oh yeah, right.
So good. I love it.
Well,
yeah.
I think that unless there are maybe like, is there any question from chat that we could like address that we haven't talked about?
Oh yeah.
I don't want to talk about the campaign in general. I don't want to talk about like the
just because we don't have the full
cast,
so
and
we're not going to do like a talk back.
They can't answer, but about like party, TPKs and so forth. Like I'd love to open it up if people have anything they want to talk about.
Yeah.
Just for a little bit, because I think we've talked it out.
Yay. Thank you. Oh, everyone's being so nice in chat. Y'all are great.
Had I considered just killing off Bursa and keep going?
I don't know. Is that question for you or for me?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I mean, if I'd had to keep going, it would have been killing you off and then killing everyone, and then the game would be over. Because like I couldn't see a situation where people could get out, really.
Yeah, I guess for me, killing off Bursa and keep going. I think it would have been, I think it would have been really interesting to have like a single, like in lieu of a TPK, like having Bursa, especially if you like had committed to like not, which I am very grateful for, pulling punches on her aura effect and just seeing Bursa go down hard quickly, and you having that as like the rest of the party like going like, oh nope, 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 nope. I actually would have been fine with it. Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of like the thing that happens in a party is a table, which is like it's the bench clearing in baseball of like if one person gets into a fight, we all have to do it.
Yeah.
And like I love that, but I also love this idea of like a cautionary tale, and knowing that like not the characters are disposable, but like okay, so Butt Prince elaborated
has a different idea.
Yeah, but I think those ideas can be cool too, and it just requires like meta talk to be like, yo, do we leave?
So but, I think a very important part of it, just to build on what you said, and then I'll go back to the question.
Yeah, for sure.
I think a very important part of D&D is the meta talk. I think people discount meta talk a great deal when they're like, no, but we're playing our characters. You know what I mean? I think stepping back and saying, hey, Aabria, you cool if we ditch? Like is an important part of like managing the group and keeping everybody in a good zone. You know what I mean?
1000%.
Because like that conversation is very, very easy to have. You know what I mean? You cool if we ditch? Yeah, I can think of something. All right, cool. Then we go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
or like, you cool if we ditch? No? All right, we're bench clearing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like, that's fine.
1000%.
So if Aabria had to leave and just like we just kept going with like the new cast member,
I did offer that.
I didn't want to do it because it felt like it was too late in the game. You know what I mean? To like just like slot someone in. But it would be the same as when Gabe switched characters. It would be just like slotting someone out, slotting someone in, and trying to like move forward. There's a bit of a disconnect because it's a player slotting out, which is a little bit harder to manage.
True.
They don't have all the meta knowledge of like what's happened before, like who these people are, that kind of stuff. But it is just like a thing that I made a conscious decision that I didn't want to do that to the player who was going to join us because I feel like it's much harder for them than starting at point zero. So to speak.
1000%.
So if a TPK had happened early on, what would we have done? Well, we wouldn't have stopped the campaign. It would have been make some new, go again. But I was doing my level best to make sure it wasn't a TPK at any given point. There were quite a few things where I pulled punches, where I saw a thing that I knew would kill them and didn't do it.
But like I mean, okay, so here's the thing. Sorry, I'm going to jump in at your defense here because I feel like I don't want you to feel at all defensive about it. And there's a lot of like culture, especially in the like we are showing off the module of like playing the module straight and like if the group dies, they die. But there's also that important thing about like wanting to do something and tell a story. Because if I wanted to just play a random number generator of like, does it happen or does it not happen? Like that doesn't build good narrative. Like RNGs serve story, like modules serve story. So tell a good story. And if that means that like you are like you move one bullet a little out the way to wing a character and not kill them because now you know that like they understand the stakes of the world. Like to me, that is net good for the group and the story.
I think in a dangerous game, which D&D often is, right? You want to walk that sweet tightrope of it could kill you, but it won't. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like, you should be scared that you'll die, but you might not die.
Yeah.
Like, it makes you want to play better, to be a better player. You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, if I use my abilities correctly, I think I can live here. But if you don't, you know what I mean? Like, and the dice rolls sometimes just comes down to the dice roll. You know?
Yeah. Exactly. Ooh, Ryan, hi. If the party goes down because they're rolling very low and the dice were the only thing at fault, would you have pulled punches or just gone with it?
That depends. Yeah. In the final battle, I said I was going to play it straight. You know what I mean? Like, I made a disclaimer. I said to the group, this is how it is. I'm laying the dice on the table and I'm just playing it how it comes out. Because it is the final battle, and why would I change the boss battle? You know? Yeah. But there are circumstances where I like to play the dice as they lie, generally. If I roll a die, I am making a choice that the consequences of that die have to exist, right? It's the whole thing for players where it's like, if you want to make an athletics check, if you fail, there has to be a fail state. If you win, there has to be a win state. And if there isn't either of those, or I don't want you to fail, don't make you roll. You know what I mean? It's that whole thing. I generally don't fudge attack rolls or damage rolls, but there are other narrative aspects that you can fudge. Oh, the monster decided to use an ability that doesn't kill Aabria right now. Oh, the group of kobolds decided to retreat because 3 of them died, but if they kept attacking, they might win. You know what I mean? Like there are choices you can make that aren't just I rolled a 20, but I pretend I rolled a 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I think work a little better. And that's what I mean by pulling punches. I know that I can kill you with NPC stat blocks because I have infinity of them. And I can just keep rolling dice and I can tell you it's not dead. Negative 100 into its health pool, it's still cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's no way for you to validate that. So it's up to me to be trustworthy enough, you know, to like provide a dangerous experience. Basically would be my take on that.
Yeah. Sweet. Ooh. Okay. From Dark of Nate, if the party had decided to rally all of 2 towns, plus the kobolds and all the NPCs and marched off against Auril, would you have let them or found an excuse to keep it just to the party? How do you feel about followers?
If they can march all of that stuff off to deal with Auril, then I can have Auril march some shit right out to meet them. There's a thing that I like to think with D&D parties where it's dungeon delving and there's dangerous stuff. They're able to do it quietly because there's 4 of them. You bring a whole army, you're going to get noticed like way sooner. And Auril's got ice statues aplenty. You know what I mean? So I probably would have cut them down. You know what I mean? And then been like, you make it through the fucking epic ice army.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist in the book, you know what I mean? And now you're back to 4, you know, like, because I don't want to manage all that other stuff, right?
Yeah,
like
for
that,
sure.
Because that becomes my job to do, which I don't want to do.
Yep.
So I would make up some epic reason that it was super smart of them to bring everyone, and then have them beat that epic reason with it, and then, yeah.
Of course. Yeah, that's the thing. It's saying yes and then still getting down to the core premise of allowing your players to feel actualized while running something manageable for you as the like arbiter of narrative. Another great question from West Voldian.
Yeah.
Does running homebrew content in this module, e.g. The skeleton race and Dampiers, make you more or less likely to allow that next game? What is your DM comfort preference if you're comfortable speaking about
I am
that?
definitely comfortable speaking about that. So I love extra content. If there's content out there that I feel is reasonable, and I will always read it first or check it first or trust my players not to be dicks about it. You know, if it had been a skeleton that gave you like damage resistance and if they didn't have a magic weapon, you couldn't be hurt or whatever, that wouldn't get in, right? But
yeah,
it's like reasonable and flavorful, then I'm into it. We used a lot of spells that I didn't know the contents of.
Yeah.
That I didn't know the contents of in this campaign. A lot of the players picked stuff that I had never seen before. Because it was like Kobold Press stuff or whatever extra stuff. I trust my players. One of my rules as a DM, and I've said this a million times, my rule as a DM is anything to do with your character, that's the part you manage. I do everything else, so I'm not going to look over your character sheet. I'm going to trust that you can handle that. Whether it be items you've picked up and recorded, whether it be spell slots that you have, whether it be the contents of those spells, you know what I mean? Like
Stone's Endurance, man, I kept forgetting to use that. Oopsie.
I leave the player to the player. I trust that they will be smart and cool, and that I won't have to, like their mom, open their character sheet and be like, "Have you been doing your homework?" You know what I mean? Like I don't want to do that. I don't want to play with people that make me do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my take on homebrew stuff. I love homebrew stuff because it adds flavor and it adds variation that I play a lot of D&D, so I don't see you know, like you've seen it all. You know what I mean? So the homebrew stuff adds flavor. I love it as long as a player can manage it. If you know what your spells do, if you know what your abilities are about, if you know what your custom race, you know, class, whatever does, sick deal. But you need to be able to explain it to me on a dime. When I say, what does it do? I want you to be able to say, well, it gives me a counterattack when you attack as a reaction. Cool, good. That's what I want to know. You know what I mean? I don't want to do the whole, like, what does it do? Let me just read it for the first time ever kind of a situation. Like, it's the only thing you have to manage is your character. When I'm the DM, that's all I care about.
Yeah. And just to jump in and like agree and expand, I'm also like personally as a GM, I'm a fan of like improvising like weird magic items. Sometimes they're useful and flavorful. A lot of times they're completely useless, like my cake knife. That it's a knife, it turns the thing you cut into cake. I love like, so I feel very, very comfortable. Yeah, it was based off of all those like Twitter videos of like, I was like, I'm gonna do that for an item. And then they were like, if we cut the dragon with it, it's the dragon cake. And I was like, no. So I love saying yes to like new stuff. And then you just kind of watch how it plays out with the ability to say like, I might have to call an audible if like, hey, this is coming through, but like you found like the weird edge case and it's just weirdly like overpowered. And now like I'm trying to balance against like this one very specific thing that you're doing that like you're punching a bunch of damage. And like, if I try to like scale up to make the fight seem right, like I will punch a literal hole through the rest of the party. Like, so I think it all just once again comes back to like being willing to have a conversation.
Yeah,
like new stuff is cool. Let's talk about it if it comes off suboptimally.
I think player trust is important. Being able to communicate with your players is important. I think this is just like a general concept. I think that being able to say, yes, you can use it, but if I find that you're using it for some like absolutely weird 3.5 style combo where you're like infinite killing everything, then we'll have to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like that, I think that's fine. Like with a disclaimer that I want to know about it. That's it. You know what I mean? Like that's, it's fine.
Love it. Ooh, West Voldian, running it with like, I love the, like, sorry, I just got like a cool idea of running a game where you're playing a bunch of like lycanthropic, like animals. So then the game goes from like D&D, like module to like Redwall, like tiny, adorable animals, like with having a completely different adventure when they're stuck in their animal form. Like, that's fun.
And yeah, in terms of stuff that this group will be doing next, Sans Aabria, obviously. This is the last Aabria stream. We'll be doing Candlekeep in mid-April, but we have a couple weeks off before then. Yeah, I think that's my take on homebrew stuff. I like homebrew stuff. I mean, I'd be hypocritical if I said I didn't because I've been writing some. But
tell me about your homebrew stuff.
Oh, you want to hear?
I do.
So
I know nothing about you. Tell me like I'm new.
So I released, I've been writing every Tuesday, doing some like 5e creative writing, with Stream. And Stream and I, we released a document onto the DM's Guild called The Distracted Elf's Guide to Otherworldly Patrons just recently, our first document. It's 16 Warlock patrons from like a narrative point of view. Because like people often go like, hey, I'm Fiend Pact Warlock, but who's the Fiend? You know, like I'm Archfey, but what Archfey? You know, you know, like that kind of stuff. And I aim to answer that question in a sort of like more specific sense. Like if you're a Pact of the Undying, you can have Siora as your patron, for example. And now that that's out, we're doing another one that we've been doing every Tuesday, and we're writing like signature spells and magic items for those patrons that we wrote previously. So spell balance is going to come into it pretty soon, and it's going to be fun to try and
I love it.
Fun to try and like do some numbers because we haven't done any numbers yet.
Dope.
That's what I'm referring to.
Nice. I've got a question for you from Jeevesy.
Okay.
Elf, if you'd been a player rather than a GM for this campaign, what kind of character would you have ideally wanted to play, assuming you could fill any party role? Like, you don't have to flex into what we needed.
I like the martial characters quite a lot. I tend to pick a martial character and then extrapolate on their role play a fair amount. So like style is an important thing to me. Like if I play a fighter, like you can be a million different characters as a fighter, like because of the weapon, because of the way they use that weapon. Like there's a lot of fun variation there. I've played a bard, a warlock, a monk, and a fighter. Those are like my most recent ones. So maybe wizard? Maybe a wizard. Might have played a wizard. I might have played that wizard from Tomb.
Dope.
Because the NPC that I wanted to play in Tomb if I died was like this like really sarcastic, like fed up wizard researcher elf who was like, you know, wizard hat with like the elf ears being pushed out to the side by the hat, you know.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I might have played her. Yeah, I think that's probably what I would have done.
That's super
cute. Just like rolling my eyes and reading my magic book. That's what I would
love
do.
That.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, okay.
I'd end up talking too much because it seems like my role in every D&D party is to like move it forward somehow.
You choose that for yourself. You know that, right?
I know.
Can't complain if that's your vibe.
I know. It's just
I'm just
like we've been in this tavern too long.
Don't worry, I remember, Fandelver. You're like, let's go to the next room. I was like, okay, I follow.
All right, yeah.
All right. Did we miss any questions?
I don't think so. I think we've hit it all.
All right.
Who's GM next? We don't know yet. We'll let you know when we know. It might be me. It might not be me. Who's to say?
There's no way to know.
So I guess let's close it out here, Aabria.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we need to break and come back. I think we're good.
Yeah.
So let's get your shout outs. Give us your like info.
Sweet. Hi, I'm Aabria Iyengar. You can follow me on social media at Quiddy, Q-U-I-D-D-I-E. I stream all over the place. On Friday, you can see the season 2 finale of Failed Save over on Pixel Circus's channel. Last week was a very strong week of like, Abria's very into like, everything is expendable, let's go. Because the cliffhanger for that episode was me being like, I have a scroll that says we go together and it's an instant kill. What's good? So I don't know what's going to happen. Very excited for that. And this is just the announcement of the announcement. So I believe this week there's a very cool, very big announcement coming out. So I'm very excited for that. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, Rime of the Frostbane was amazing and so much fun. And I'm so grateful to Roll20 and D&D for letting me come and be a part of the story. Elf, you're an amazing DM and player and friend. And I love all of Chaos Initiative with my whole heart. And I'm sad to go, but like, you know, it's vibes.
That's how it goes, you know.
It do be that way sometimes. And like, this is a small community and like nothing's ever really over. It just changes its form a little bit. So yeah, thank you. Thank you all for being super supportive of my weird character choices. And like, yeah, that's it.
Your characters are great.
Thanks.
I'm flustered by your compliments.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was lovely having you, and I look forward to playing with you again in the near future. I'm sure we'll get the opportunity within the next, I don't know, 6 months or something to play more games. But till then, or even after then, I guess I'm DistractedElf. You can find me at twitch.tv/DistractedElf or on Twitter at DistractedElf. We do the writing streams on Tuesday, like I was mentioning. Come on by the stream on Tuesday. Do that. And then we've been playing a bit of Monster Hunter recently, which has been super fun. And I run a Star Wars campaign on Roll20's channel. Yes, a Star Wars Edge of the Empire campaign called Star Wars Desperate Gamble.
Tell me more.
And I do a GM stream for it on Thursdays. I don't know if Abria's going to be on this. Aabria, you're still on the overlay for the GM stream.
Yeah, I can't do this.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
This is the off week.
Yeah, it's cool. We do a GM stream for that, and then on Thursdays, and then on Fridays we play the actual game at 1 p.m. PST.
Oh crap! I also forgot Gaxmore. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, we're doing Gax Pack, which is we did like a mini campaign leading up to GaryCon, and then we cyberbullied Luke into letting us play a couple more sessions. So the next 3 Saturdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, we're doing Gax Pack, and I'll be bringing back my Vidalcan Circle of Stars Druid, Karina, for that. It's gonna be very, very stupid. I'm very excited. I love it so much.
Every
We're just
time-
like less effective Guardians of the Galaxy.
Every time I hear Gax anything, I have a Baldur's Gate flashback because there is a lich called Gax in it, and you can get the Ring of Gax, and it's like one of the best wizard items in Baldur's Gate 2. And I know that it's related to Gygax, you know what I mean? I know that's the reference, but from my brain, that's where I heard it
I
first.
did not. I said yeah with all of the confidence of someone who was today years old, but I realized that was why.
Aabria, please.
Is Gax. No, I don't always think about stuff really hard. And I'm so sad that I'm live on the internet.
I'm not really
putting together.
I'm not really sure what to do about that one. But anyway, we'll go and help Aabria recover from the immense embarrassment of not realizing.
That's very embarrassing.
Of not realizing that Gax was a reference to
I didn't think about it. It's just fun.
And we'll see you later. I'm closing it out.
End the stream.
All right, bye friends. Bye.